When a war breaks out, the history books usually point to a single explosive moment: an assassination, a border skirmish, a crossed red line. But the flash of impact hides the invisible, systemic failures that made the shatter inevitable. To understand why complex systems collapse, we can use a diagnostic framework called the Lady Galaxy Protocol. It starts with a simple parable. If you wake up to find your favorite crystal glass broken on the floor, you might instinctively ask, who bumped the table? But the U model asks 3 specific questions to find the actual cause. First, was there a hairline crack in the glass before it fell? This is a question of form, the structural integrity of the object itself. Second, was the glass placed on an unstable shelf? This is a question of position, the environmental vulnerability of the system. Only then do we ask about action. Did a physical trigger, like a bump to the shelf, occur at the critical moment? The final bump is merely the last step in a sequence. When a system's internal structure is compromised and its environment is unstable, the final collapse transitions from a possibility to a mathematical certainty. This diagnostic logic applies to nations and armies because in the U model, they are viewed as forms, complex structures that require energy and organization to resist falling into disorder. U-theory's POLEMOS appendix defines war as the maximal export of entropy between these competing systems. Entropy represents chaos and the loss of useful energy. In a geopolitical context, this translates to the degradation of a state's hierarchy, the breakdown of its logistics, and the friction that prevents its military from functioning. The true objective of combat is to force an opponent to absorb so much of this chaos that the energy required to maintain their form, their organized identity, becomes impossible to sustain. In this framework, war is the most precise and brutal application of thermodynamics to the problem of human survival. A system injects entropy into an enemy through 3 vectors. The first is an attack on form. This targets the structural integrity of the opponent, their hierarchy, doctrine, and morale. Sun Tzu famously argued that the highest excellence is breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. By destabilizing the enemy's command structure or psychological will, a strategist can dissolve an organized army back into a high-entropy, disorganized mob. The second vector targets position. This photo of soldiers in deep winter illustrates how environmental friction and harsh terrain strips a system of resources. Maneuver warfare, blockades, and the cutting of supply lines are all positional attacks. They increase the thermodynamic cost of existence, restricting the enemy's space until they can no longer function. The third vector is an attack on action. This is pure kinetic energy, the firepower and maneuverability used to physically shatter the enemy's capabilities through shock and awe. A victorious system succeeds by injecting enough entropy through any of these 3 channels to push the opponent past the point of recovery. The military U-score represents the survival capacity mathematically. It measures the strength of a military as the product of its form, position, and action. These 3 variables are multiplied together under a cube root. This is a geometric mean, and it explains why systemic collapse is so absolute. In a standard average, a high score in one area could compensate for a failure in another, but in a geometric system, the relationship is different. If a military's logistics or hierarchy, its form, drops to 0, the entire score collapses. No firepower or perfect positioning can save a system whose structural integrity has reached 0. This mathematical reality is why massive, technologically advanced armies can vanish in weeks. When one pillar fails, the stability of the entire system reaches absolute 0. If war follows these rigid laws, can we determine exactly when diplomatic tension will turn into an armed conflict? The War Propensity Index predicts conflict escalation. It multiplies form incompatibility, like zero-sum ideologies, position overlap for contested space, and action asymmetry, the advantage of striking first. When this index exceeds 0.5, the mathematical probability of war becomes statistically high. For intergovernmental organizations and defense analysts, this framework offers a revolutionary tool for identifying strategic weak points before they lead to collapse. The real-world stakes of this research are high. The author noted that exactly 7 days after they published this mathematical stress test, their social media profile was taken down. Reinterpreting the history of conflict through U-theory suggests that war is the continuation of thermodynamics by other means. By viewing conflict as an equation of entropy rather than a series of random events, we gain the mathematical blueprint necessary to identify and potentially prevent the next shatter.